Greetings, Batprince here, and today I am being joined by Lee Bamber, the
Yep.
CEO and technical lead of the Game Creators, the company that brought you programs like GameGuru, the app Game Kit Studio, and the upcoming GameGuru Max, which releases on early access on the 25th of March. Did I get everything? Is that all right?
You actually got it right. That was the title. Yeah, App Game Kit Studio. All that is correct.
Now that I've tried to explain who you are, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words?
um, CEO of the Game Creators, but more importantly, coder. So I've been coding for decades now, starting when I was 10 years old. I'm nearly 50, so that's about 40 years of programming the computer. And I've always been into game creators, products that let everyone make their own games. So you can imagine I kind of learned a few things along the way. So we're doing a product right now called GameGuru Max. It's another game maker, but basically taking all the stuff I've learned over those previous products and put it into this one. So the bottom line is, if you don't want to code, you don't want to create your own art, you can still make a game. We've made it easy for people to just create a game very quickly. So you've got an idea, you can put it together in a couple of minutes or a couple of hours or a couple of weeks, and you can have a game. And when you finish making your game, you can share it, you can sell it. It's yours to do with what you want.
So after having Game Guru out for so long, what made you push to have a new app of the Game Guru Max? Well, why is it a new thing instead of like updates?
Well, Steam's pretty, uh, brutal when they want to tell you exactly what's wrong with your product. And so we took all of that feedback. So the graphics aren't good enough. It doesn't look like a modern game. The AI is rubbish. It's too slow. It doesn't run on my machine. I need this to happen in my game. I need that to happen. And so that list just kept growing and growing. We were still working on Game Guru, but the list was growing bigger than we could actually turn around and do anything about it. We did little bits, but not fast enough. So with Game Guru Max, dev team's bigger. We have more programmers, more artists working on this one. We've been at it behind the scenes for about a year and a half now, taking all that feedback and saying, well, what do we need to do? And it was a pretty big shift. I mean, we thought we could just do a few little adds and tweaks, but in the end, we just replaced the graphics engine. We've rewritten most of the games engine. We've started from scratch on pretty much all of the artwork. So yeah, it's a new product effectively to solve all of them problems. But if it wasn't for Game Guru Classic, we wouldn't have known what we needed to do next in order to create a better game maker. So that's what Max is. It takes each of those items and responds to them, not just with platitudes, but we're actually going to give you some software which solves the problem that you had with Classic. And it'll be an ongoing process as well. It's the early access version in March. That's just a version that we feel you can make a game with. But after that, we'll continue to work on AI. We'll continue to add more genres like RPG and puzzle and VR. I mean, we're already working on those in the background, but the shooter genre is what we'll have for March. And so that's what people will get to play with. And of course, feedback immediately on what we've got. We've been running an internal community just to sort of get some early feedback before we showed enough people. And yeah, I think we're at the point now where we can actually hold our heads up reasonably high. It looks good, it performs well, the AI is getting there. And we're throwing some things in that you won't find in the likes of, say, Unity or Unreal, because at some point you're going to have to dive into the code, or you're going to spend a lot of time creating something or learning a lot of tools, add-on tools for those. Whereas everything's built into Max, and so if we've got time I can show you some software. You'll see that there's certain things that we've put in that should accelerate that whole process from I have an idea and I want to make my game in like 20 minutes, and you can actually do that with this. And it'll actually look like a modern game, not like I think one person said these games look like they came from like 1995, and having programmed that, programs computers from that era, You actually did have 3D back in 1995, but and it shows how passionate the Steam community was that they wanted to make games. It's just I don't want to make a game that looks like that. I want to make a game that looks good and plays well, and that's absolutely reasonable. And so that's what we're attempting to do with GameGuru Max.
So what systems did you start out on? Were you keeping up with the Commodore?
The first one that I owned, that I was got for a Christmas present, was the VIC-20. So it was VIC-20, Commodore 64, and then Amiga. So I was a Commodore fanboy. So yeah, the was on one side, then you got Spectrums and your Amstrad types on the other side.
Okay, well, that's probably enough talking for now. How about you show us what your program can do?
Yeah, I can find that, and I can select screen 2, so we're not sharing ourselves infinitely. So that'll pop up on that screen. I don't know whether you can see anything yet.
I can, and I can see your lovely background.
Yeah, that was an early terrain. We're using procedural generation to create very, very large terrains. One of the critiques actually from Classic was the terrain wasn't big enough. So we thought, oh, well, let's make it bigger. And because you don't want to spend a million years creating a massive terrain, we thought, let's make it procedural. So that was an early shot. I'll just run. This is the welcome screen. I mean, how would you like to look at this? Do you want to see something that's already been made so you can see the end result? Or do you want to see the sort of, if you was a new user, how you would go through the stages effectively?
I think we should start off with some end result to produce excitement and then get on to showing how it was made. That seems like a good idea.
All right, that sounds good. This is one that we ran a competition and we got a couple of entries, and this I really like because it was nice and compact. And I think we'll do a little bit more with the author of this one just to refine some of the AI. So I'll just do test. I don't know if the sound's going to be too loud, but I'll try and keep it. I'll try and talk between the gunfire. All right, great. So effectively, this is a small level. You've got a player that starts with a weapon. I've got a soldier with the back facing me. I've got some more soldiers over the little bridge. And then I got a zombie hiding around there. So I'll just take this first one out. Gone. And these are some soldiers. Everything I add, I don't just do it for its own sake. Everything's testing a feature or a function before we release it in March. So this is one about how they can say different things when they see you and when they engage in combat.
Huh?
So
Hey, you.
maybe just switch to auto. Yeah. And then I can get it to its cone of sight.
You're not allowed here.
Get rid of him. And then this guy. In fact, I could probably do this.
Anyone there?
And we've got someone hiding behind me. In fact, I was recently demonstrating that if you can creep, so just slowly walk up, you don't make any AI sounds, so you can sneak up right behind. Whereas if I just ran with heavy footsteps like that,
Hey, you.
then they hear you, and obviously you can't sneak up behind them. And the rest of this week, I'll be working on more zombie AI, so I just finished the zombie where you've got a zombie and you've got a zombie ally as well. So I can have lots of zombies fighting each other. And I got the synchronization just right. So as soon as they hit, the other zombie reacts. And it's like a Monty Python fish slap sketch. It's actually quite funny. So that's what I've been working on right now. But this is a small little level. As you can imagine, you can drop in your scenery, your characters, you can have voiceovers triggering and video, you can collect weapons and ammo and health, you can lay out buildings, and this is something I didn't write. I can't take credit for this. This is one of the competition entries where it's a little base that there's some soldiers are going to defend it, and I'm guessing that once you've taken everyone out there, then you can run to the top, probably capture a flag, and then that's the end of this level, and then you'll go on to level 2, level 3, and such like. So this wasn't created by some experienced game author. This is just something that someone put together in a couple of days, just using our assets and all the mechanisms. And there'll be many, many different demos. If I just go back just to show you where they'll all live. In the demo games section, we'll actually have demos of different sizes, so complex ones where you need to do quite a bit of intricate logic connections, and then simple ones where you just drop things in very quickly, press a button, and away you go. You've made your first game. And we'll actually help people out with some example demos and then some tutorials. And that's what you're going to get when you first run the software. We're not going to leave you alone. For every stage of the way, there'll be intro videos, mini tutorials built into the editor, and lots of things to run and play with before you start the journey, I'd say, of creating your own game from scratch.
I've never actually used the program myself for making a game, but I am going to be running through some of these demos and tutorials and making my own game in the future. So that's something for other people to look out for.
All right, great. Yeah, I think we're going to put in about 10 demos for the March Early Access one. And then there'll be lots and lots. In fact, if I just start a new game project, because to make one from scratch, let's call it new 2. This first section, it's another one of the critiques we got from GameGuru Classic. All you could really do is make one level and then chain that level together.
Yeah.
And people were saying, well, a game's more than just a level. It's a title screen. It's a menu. It's different levels. It's like level 1, level 2, level 3, and you want to be able to see it. So we thought we'd create a storyboard. So you can actually see all your different game screens and you can connect them together. And this actually was born out of that feedback.
I like it.
And because you don't want to create 5 square miles of hills, one hill at a time, one of the first things we wanted to do was create what's called a terrain generator. So the idea is you can pick the terrain generator mode, and then you can choose one of the different biomes. So you can have plains, desert, forest, snow, canyon, mountains, rainforest, or an empty level. So let me just get... it looks like I'm showing on this second screen, you're not seeing the render of the of the biomes. But if you keep clicking them, you actually randomize the different biomes. Should I share my first screen? Because you might be able to see it then. Yeah, you can see it on the first screen. So if I stop sharing and share, is that breaching etiquette?
No, I think that'll work fine.
All right, great. So I'll stop sharing the screen. And then if I go to this button and then press that screen, you should be able to see software eventually.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great. This is what technology is about, fixing problems on the fly. So now you can actually see the different biomes. So that's regular plain. You can have deserts, so you can just keep clicking that. It'll keep randomizing using a procedural algorithm, all the different, and also times of day as well. So it randomizes that. So forest, you have lots of trees and some gaps between the trees. Snow, so snow of different undulations. Canyons would be deep valleys and high points. Mountains is a bit more flattened out, more craggy edges. And then rainforest, you'd imagine that being jungles and steamy mango swamps and the like. But I quite like snow, so I get one in the daylight, that'll do. And this little rectangle here basically shows you where you're going to be starting. So I think that's just outside the water. I like that, so I'll have that. So I click generate terrain for the level, just give it a name, so snow level. Obviously you'd have a bit more descriptive. And then once you've done your terrain generation, then you get dropped into this huge world of whatever size you've chosen. That yellow box indicates the editable area of that terrain. It's simply so you can confine all of the gameplay, the logic, the performance within this box, but you can change the size of that to whatever your particular level needed. Now, I'm not going to spend the next half an hour designing some complicated levels, so let's just pretend I was doing it really, really quick, and we have different asset collections. So I'm just going to go into Arctic collection because it fits nicely with. So as you can see, I'm quite high in the sky. So we've got assets that match nicely with different biomes, and obviously can mix and match. So let's say I got this half igloo thing. So as you can see, you go into the library, you find things that you want to add. So let me show you that fighting zombie thing that I was just writing earlier. So there's one zombie, dropping another zombie. You can change the properties. There's lots of properties you can change, but I'm going to change this zombie so it is one of my allies. And then we'll want to start position. That's where I'll start. And I'll probably want a weapon. So I'll choose compact assault rifle, give myself lots of ammo, make sure that I've got lots of strength there, and make myself invulnerable. And that's it. Without any coding or creating art or anything like that, I've generated a 5-mile square area of Arctic, added in some structures, added in some characters, decided where I want to start this level, given myself a weapon, and then now we've got this guy who's an ally, and this chap here who's an enemy. I think at the moment they're not doing what I wanted them to do, but effectively this will be the enemy who will attack me, or if the ally is closer, it'll switch direction, it'll attack the ally, and then the ally in defense will actually clandestinely protect me, but effectively the zombie AI is really just about going out and attacking the nearest thing it can find. So I think maybe the reason those is because they're static. But yeah, you've got behaviors. So currently they're set to zombie attack, but you can see you've got all the different kind of behaviors you can assign to characters. So this would be chosen if it was, say, a typical soldier behavior that you wanted, or just storytelling. So getting close and speaking, running on a patrol, staying away from you. And so that's how you would choose the behaviors of the characters in the game. And every object has, or potentially has, different behaviors, like a key. I'll go a bit closer and show you a key. You'll see if you look at the behaviors, it's got the behavior of a key. So you don't really have to worry about game logic as such. You just have to drag objects in that you'd think you'd find in a game, and then actually do what you'd expect them to do, like this one. I mean, you just know for a fact, as soon as you shoot it, it's going to explode. And so we built that logic in. So all you really need to do is drop in the objects, press a button, and just start molding your game into whatever you want it to be. And when you think it's fun enough that you'd like to share it, then you can share it with everyone. And so yeah, that's I'd say that's the highest level of what it's basically about. So you can create a project, create a level, generate your terrain, drop in some objects, and then decide where you want your player to start. And these other things, these are all called game objects. There's one here with a trophy. And the idea is that if you get to within this area, then that wins that particular level. And then based on what your storyboard tells you to do, you'll either go to the next level, or you'll win the game, or you'll have a cutscene, or whatever it happens to be.
I'm a little bit familiar with that trophy.
Even at that level. Pardon?
I'm a little bit familiar with that trophy. It gets used for a bunch of the games.
Fortunately, you won't see the trophy when you're playing the game. It's like there for your benefit, so you can say, okay, that's generally where I need to be. But you'd probably put it like behind a gate, or you'll have some glowy lights just to show you, this part here is where you want to be. So even lights get behaviors. So you can have flaming lights, rotating strobes, toggles, flickers. So whatever the object is that you drop in, we've taken care of the coding of them. So, and they all work together. For example, let's say you wanted these two characters to cooperate. We have this special filter called visual logic. So all you got to do is, when you're in that mode, connect those two together. So there'll actually be a line connecting them together, so that when you walk into a scene, let's say this enemy sees you, this enemy will actually tell that enemy, oh, I've just seen the player, and then they both come attacking. So again, you don't have to do coding, you just use visual systems in order to connect all the stuff together. Like, you could connect this trophy to the light, so let's say when you enter this zone, that light comes on, you see, and you get to choose different things that you actually want that logic to do. So as much as possible, we've tried to make even relatively sophisticated game logic as easy as possible to craft without you having to learn syntax or, you don't have to know how a game is created, but you do know how to connect that to that and then choose an option. That's about as complicated as it needs to get for like 98% of the people who'll be making games in Max.
Yeah.
And if you want to, you can still drop down to scripting level and
So
write
you
your
do
own
offer
scripts.
the more the complicated stuff for people that know what they're doing as well?
Absolutely. We have an importer, so you can import your own animating textured models.
Yep.
And then we have a scripting tool, which allows you to write in Lua script, which is a pretty common scripting language for games. And there's something else. I'll show you, as this is a show and tell, I'll show you this, which is sort of an intermediate level. It's a little bit more sophisticated than just connecting lines up, but it does give you an opportunity to create logic visually. So let me just get away a little bit and go to edit behaviors. Now, if you're familiar with flowcharts, you'll probably understand this a little bit. Start at the top. So you'll do this, then there's a condition, and if it's true, it does that. If it's false, it does this. And basically, you can create a sequence of logic. And these are really high-level things like play an animation, play a sound, go to this position. And as you can see, you can build up quite sophisticated logic if you want to. Again, you're not really coding with lines of code, but you are able to connect and string logic blocks together. And so that's there for the people who want to go a little bit further into creating their own logic, but don't want to go all the way to actually scripting, because it's quite an ordeal learning programming for the first time. So we give people lots of different levels that they can come in at. But I think everyone, or at least all the new game makers, will just want to come in, drop in some characters, some buildings, some interesting things, and then just press the big green button and just play the game that they've made.
And then export it. And there's no kind of rights or copywriting or anything like that to, if somebody wants to say export their game and then have it sold on the Steam store or anywhere else, whatever.
No concerns at all about that. In fact, ever since 1999, I think, when we released the very first game maker called Dirt Basic, we always had this promise that whatever you make is yours. So if you've made it and you think you can sell it, then you go and sell it. We won't put any percentages on it or restrictions. You've made it, you can sell it, because you put all the work in, you've made the game. It's only right that you should profit from it. And a lot of people they make games not to sell them. They just want to create a game and then share it and say, look, this is what I've made. So there's no restrictions at all. You can basically, and I think that's another thing that we saw with GameGuru Classic. A lot of people really took us up on that and started making games really quickly, and then putting them on Steam.
Oh yeah, that's.
And it's like,
I think that's why I was contacted, because I've just gone through so many of them in the videos on my YouTube series. Just they've been cranked out at one point, and I've just sat and played a lot of them. Actually, something that, back to the programming that I'm interested in, some of the things that I enjoy about playing some of these not so well made games that people have created with your software is they add in little Steam achievements that are not too easy to get, but they're also not ridiculously hard, and you can just go around hunting. Have you implemented any kind of Steam integration feature? Or is that something that you have to learn externally?
We have done full Steam integration in the past. In fact, so even GameGuru Classic had quite a lot of Steam integration in there. For GameGuru Max, certainly for the March release, we've not added any Steam integration. The only integration we've got is the mandatory digital rights management, just to make sure it's a proper Steam title. But after March, we have actually had quite a strong set of requests, not only for things like Steam achievements, but also things like Workshop. So people can create something like a small thing and then share it with the Steam community of GameGuru Max users. So then, rather than having to leave the software to go and find something on Workshop, you can stay in the software, go to the Workshop area, find the things that you might want, like someone's created a new behavior or a new character or a level that they want to share or a tutorial. and they can find it from there. So we do have a small list of things that we absolutely are going to do with Steam integration. I think we're already doing things like trading cards, and I think there's another thing. There's two things that's really easy to do with Steam because you don't need to change the software. I think we've done those. But Steam integration will follow after the March early access release.
Cool.
And on the top of my head, it's Workshop and Steam achievements.
Right. I think I was more getting to the ability to put them into the game that you make. And I'm not sure whether I slipped up there.
You mean so like you've made a game and then you want to put that game on Steam and you want to create your own achievements?
Yeah, like I'm not familiar on how you would do that, but I was just wondering if there was a way to make that easy in your game, whether you've thought about that, if you've made it easy to add those to your game in GameGuru. I might be way out of my depth here, I don't know.
No, yeah, the initial plan is the achievements will be for Max. So if you've made your first level, you get an achievement. If you've made
yeah.
Yeah,
I was more
so
thinking about adding them to the game that you make.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, doesn't it, that if we're doing that, we may as well just engineer it a bit further and let everybody else get access to that same technology and have some sort of external files which describe their own set of achievements.
Yeah,
and so when the game is being played on Steam, you can then, when you saw me adding a win zone into the level, you could drop something in which is like Steam Achievement 1, which is whatever it is you want it to be called, and you can provide your own image for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's doable. But
idea.
I think we have actually had lots of requests for that from the GameGuru Classic days.
Yeah.
Because once you start integrating into Steam, they want everything. We added Steam multiplayer, but what we found the problem was everyone had to own Steam in order to play the Steam multiplayer games, and a lot of people want to play the multiplayer outside of Steam. So in the interim between Classic and now, we actually wrote support for something called Photon, which is it's an open source, very cool multiplayer API, and we already have that up and running. It's just not being released at the moment, but that's what we'll use for our multiplayer system. So you can actually play games with each other. Once you've made your game, it's not just a single player experience, but you can connect it up with other people who play your game, and then you can run around your level with your own avatars.
Awesome. So talking about the future of how things are going to be made and stuff also, do you have plans for DLC in the future? Things to add on to the Max?
Yeah, in the past, we actually did quite a few DLCs for GameGuru Classic, and it was all fine and well and good, and we thought, quantity is what's going to impress people, but it turns out that's not really the case. What people wanted was quality and relevance. And so for GameGuru Max, instead of just giving people 1,000 objects in a DLC, just 1,000 random objects, what we're going to do is something called Game Kits, which is all of the elements you need to create a particular game style. So we'll give you the weapons, the characters, the scenery, the vegetation, the trees, the objects, the mechanics, sounds, the music, all the things that you need to create a mini version of a particular game style. And I think that will be much more useful than just giving people a grab bag of random objects and thinking, right, it's up to you now, you make a game out of all that. And so that's what we're doing with Max. We're not going to call them DLCs, we'll call them game kits.
Yeah.
And I think that's a better way of doing it. And it took us 5 years of GameGuru Classic to learn that. It's not just about shoveling out DLC as quickly as you can make it. It has to be relevant. It has to be a quality addition to the core product. Otherwise, it just gets slated, and quite rightly.
Cool. Well, I think I've taken up quite enough of your time, and thank you for talking with me. Is there any closing remarks that you have before we wrap up and say goodbye for today?
No, not at all. Please check out GameGuru Max when it comes out on Steam on the 25th of March. I suppose that's a great wrap-up.
Yeah. I was going to get to that, but you did it, so we'll do it doubly time. Check out GameGuru Max when it comes out on Steam for early access, 25th of March. You can go pre-order on the websites of the Game Creators as well if you want to not do the Steam version, right? because if you want to do the
Absolutely, yeah. We have a non-Steam version as well.
yeah. Plug all the things. All right. Well, thank you very much for talking with me today. I don't know how to say
No
goodbye.
worries. It's been a pleasure.
All right. I'll see you later. Farewell.
Cheers. Bye.
Yeah.